The Metaverse, a lawless or regulated verse. How does this affect users? With Vasilisa Marinchuk, Center Blockchain de Catalunya.
I feel great again. It's a pleasure to be here and with these wonderful people on the stage discussing Metaverse, how regulated it should be the area and the space. So before we start diving deep into the topic, I would like my speakers to introduce themselves and explain a little bit about their background. So literally like 1 minute presentation. Klemen, let's start with you.
Hey, Klemen from Bolis team, one of the co-founders. So Bolis is the project where we are creating Metaverse life experience where everybody can be like a next star athlete. So what we did for now is we created 9,999 NFTs, which were sold out like in 10 minutes on crypto.com. We have strong partnership with them. And now we are building the game, and later on, of course, we are trying to do the whole Metaverse. And we also created some different pillars inside our project. So yeah, this is like short introduction.
Thank you. Naveen?
Hello, everyone. It's good? Yeah, okay. She told me to speak loud, so I had to be loud, you know. My name is Naveen. I'm a co-founder and CEO of a Layer 1 blockchain. That blockchain is specifically built to address the issues which we have in the data management. So we are the first blockchain which do the full decentralized data management. We are the first decentralized database built on the top of the blockchain. And I was in Belgrade, I think 2-3 months before in another event as a speaker, and now I'm here again. Thank you very much for having you.
Thank you, Naveen. And Srdjan, your turn.
Hi, everybody. My name is Srdjan Dejanovic. I'm the CEO and founder of Legal Transformers. Essentially, we facilitate transformation of the law through cutting-edge technologies, such as Web3 technologies. I was also one of the members of the work group that drafted the Digital Assets Act. So it's the first law related to crypto assets in the Balkan region. And yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, Edwin. We're always sharing the stage in the AIBC Summit for some reason.
We always come in tandem. So hello, everybody. My name is Edwin Mata. I'm the CEO, co-founder of Brickken. We are a DApp that provides tokenization and infrastructure for token management solution. So we're also looking in targeting DAOs and providing them with some of the solutions to the pains that we're most likely going to be speaking now. So thanks everybody for having me. And yeah, hello everybody.
Right. So we have a very interesting topic about Metaverse, how regulated it should be in the modern world. But before we answer in this one, I mean, not everybody understands what the Metaverse is. So I don't want to dive deep into the Metaverse is this and that set of technologies and everything, but in your opinion, how different is the Metaverse from the internet, which we're using right now? So, Edwin, I will go with you first.
I mean, it's connectivity, right? When you're in the Web3 environment, you really connect with the wallet, and there's this whole different ecosystems that coexist. And Metaverse is just like that. By excellence is what the boost of connectivity is going to be, because everything can happen in a single space. You can have DeFi protocols, you can have tokenization, you have DAOs, you have funding, you have experiences. So it's kind of like, that's where we're moving to, that hyper digitization, where we just connecting via our wallet, which is our identity. So we're just on the first layers of understanding what is the capabilities behind Metaverse. But there's a lot of things happening on a day-to-day basis because innovation is going so fast. So I'm really expecting to see how we manage to really take the best out of the Metaverse and not just complicated things as whatever is happening right now. But that's my input.
Klemen, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, sorry. I would just add that, in my opinion, the friction between, let's say, physical experience and digital experience will be shorter. So, but I think my co-speaker said it like perfectly.
Okay. Naveen or Srdjan, anything to add to the description of Edwin?
Well, for me, essentially, it's the revolution of user experience. So moving from like two-dimensional spaces from websites to web spaces, let's call it like that, because we were involved in a super exciting project from 2018, which was actually about Metaverse before Facebook announced it. And from my point of view, this was always the mission, to transform the way people interact with each other and interact with the web. This is in a nutshell.
Naveen?
Yeah, so I will totally agree with you. I think we have to see it like this, that the base is internet. The metaverse cannot function without internet. So we take the fundamental layer of internet and we can have the glimpse of metaverses now in different gamings. You know, you have the 3D games where you immerse yourself. And I think metaverse will be the next step where it will be a virtual identity and a virtual world where you could be free and do whatever you want to do. Well, under brackets, yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you guys. And one point which several of you told is about digital identity, which is going to be part of the metaverse. And this is exactly where the question is coming from. So how regulated should be the metaverse to, first of all, I don't know, preserve the digital identity we have there, to preserve our children from unwanted content, and any other aspect. So I would start with Srdjan, who's ex-lawyer. I know Edwin as well, but I want to start with two lawyers to actually give their opinion on how much regulation we need for the metaverse spaces.
Okay, thanks, Vasilisa. Actually, I'm not a lawyer anymore. Don't let somebody from the Bar Association hear me. I'm not practicing law. I have a team for that. But let's say from my experience, and I've been in the blockchain regulation world from when you needed like 3 documents for an ICO to like now when you need like 170 documents just so you can open a crypto exchange. And for me, the main question is not how you should regulate metaverse, it's how you should enforce regulation in the metaverse. So if we're talking about like, I don't know, Bitcoin, who can enforce transactions on blockchain? You know, you can say, okay, you have to do this, this, and that's all okay. But essentially, the question is how you should enforce regulation in the metaverse. I can elaborate on that, but I would leave also some room for my co-speaker.
Sure. Does anybody want to jump on? Yes, Edwin?
Yeah, as a second lawyer. No, I'm not a lawyer again, to not tell the Bar Association. No, but I really like what he just said, and it's enforceability. You know, like you can regulate and you can write documents and nobody believes it and nobody enforces it. So the metaverse just became one difficult space because everything is just agnostic. It's like, it's not physical. You cannot go somewhere. And then the nodes or the Decentraland or Sandbox, you really don't know where it's located. To enforce that, it's become very, very difficult. And then you don't know who's behind that wallet or who's behind that avatar. So I am just going to feed that on that. And I think the main issue here is not just the writing of a document that becomes a regulation or a law. It's actually what is going to be the capability of the program or of the jurisdiction or for government or who is going to be able to enforce that in the sake of everybody. Because I am of the belief that regulations actually are made for the retail investors to protect us from corporations, because that's actually one of the main deals. And when we deal with regulations, we always say like, oh no, it's blocking innovation. No, actually it's trying to protect the person that is at most risk, which is us as citizens of whatever world we live in now.
Sorry, can I just jump in as well? So, and my 2 cents on the topic, how it will be more feasible to enforce these types of regulation is actually through technology. I honestly believe that the computer code and legal norm will be 2 sides of the same coin. If you look like just a couple of years back, you have GDPR, which stipulates privacy by design and by default. Privacy is becoming the essence of a core structure of a computer system. So, for example, if we're talking about metaverse, I believe that the law will become more digitized, not in terms of regulating the IT sector, but in terms of enforcing, maybe making new regulatory bodies that will check from the technical standpoint, are you compliant with a certain regulation? You have ISO 27101 that refers to, for example, GDPR, and I see that as a trend where, especially through smart contracts, for example, if you want to enter a car and start it, you would need to do an alco test where automatically you will be able or disabled to drive, and regulation will be embedded in code. This is what I believe.
Yeah, but the other truth is that the regulation is a part of particular government model. So it's GDPR doesn't exist worldwide. It just takes care of European Union, not even whole Europe, just European Union countries. So if you go to the Middle East, there is completely different rules. If you go to Russia, there is further rules. If you go to China, it's a different world. You have to comply to all of them or neglect them and somehow, sneak in and sneak out. So that will be difficult a little bit. But anyways, Klemen, you actually develop a Metaverse. What is your intake here? How regulated you want it to be, or you think it should be, or how it should be enforced on you so that you actually follow the rules?
Yeah, in my opinion, it should be regulated. And also, if you are considering the users or the end consumers, in my opinion, for the mass adoption, we need regulation. And also, as an end user, NFT buyer, Metaverse experience, whatever you want to call it, I would say we need that. Otherwise, it's not possible to have mass adoption. And you also have to understand that now that we are talking about NFTs, yes, there is utility behind. People are buying NFTs or NFT projects because of that. But on the other hand, it's also speculation. So people would also like to get something in return money-wise. And of course, if you have new influx of people coming in, then the whole metaverse, everything can progress and can build upon that. Otherwise, somewhere it's going to stop. And when it stops, it basically declines. So this is, let's say, my take on it. So I am for a regulation.
Okay, and please, Nahid.
So I'm with you. I think it has to be regulated. It will be regulated at some parts because that protect the interest of the retail users, if they are buying or selling something, an NFT. But the question is, why did we build Metaverse? So that people can actually have a free identity. And when you start regulating it, where are you going to stop it? So it's actually contradictory. It should be regulated, but it actually defeats the full purpose of Metaverse.
That's a very interesting question because, my next question to you guys was about, we talked about the GDPR part, right? So privacy and stuff. What about the KYC? Right now, with KYC people, whenever they want to use any type of financial services, even when we started crypto back in 2016, nobody was KYC. Everybody was just sending crypto one into each other, taking it out into cash and back and forth. As soon as we moving along, more central banks are having questions, more governments having questions. So the same here. Metaverse is not about just payments. It's only one feature. But there's so many other things again, identity and stuff. And if you want to give courses, do we need to KYC people? Because you can have 10 avatars. And then you can pretend, and do things, shady things. Definitely. So what do you think about KYCing people for the metaverses? Edwin is ready to answer, I see.
No, I mean, the answer is super complicated. There's not a right answer. I mean, in the end, it will be like social media. You do KYC people on Facebook, they sometimes think you're John and you're talking to Mary, who's really in the back. I mean, that's a catfish. So in Metaverse, it happens the same. But in the Metaverse, you do have access to different kind of products. So, for example, I'm into the securities world. Can you buy securities in the Metaverse? Yes, if you buy a security in the Metaverse, that transaction needs to be KYC because you need to go with anti-money laundering. So in the end, maybe the entrance does not need to be KYC, but the product or service that is being provided in the Metaverse will need to be KYC. Can you create a bank in the Metaverse? Yeah, I mean, what are the possibilities? You can create a DeFi bank or whatever. We can establish whatever you want to create. But that is socially, there's a transaction that needs to be anti-money laundering. So I believe that the KYC, it's at the product or service layer, but not at the entrance of the Metaverse layer.
Okay, yeah, Klemen, you wanted to jump on that before, yeah? No? Okay.
I was listening. I'm all ears.
So I will jump in there. I think the KYC and at one point it makes sense, but again I come to the same point. As long as the transactions are based on the blockchain, okay. So we have to understand the fundamental part of the metaverse. It's Web 2.0. Metaverse technological is based on centralized servers. It's not based on blockchain. the transactions and all this part of the NFT is something where Web 3.0 comes in. So if the transaction part is all registered on the blockchain, there is a certain amount of verification done through these transactions. Now again, if you, and this is where we are also working, because the NFTs, there's another part of the metaverse is you do KYC, but then you have your KYC in one metaverse. What about if you have NFT in one and your friends are in other and you want to shift the NFTs in other metaverse? You have to start the whole process same. And this is where also we build the Inery blockchain where you can actually connect two metaverses or different chain, and we decentralize, manage their data, and you can actually project NFT in different and actually protect your identity.
If I may, in my opinion, hopefully Solbound tokens will be solving some of these issues later on. We'll see how the things will develop in time, but this is my high hope for it.
Srdjan.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. You mentioned that before you didn't have KYCs, people were just having peer-to-peer transactions. So yeah, but before Elon Musk didn't invest 900 million in Bitcoin. So I think this is the main point. If you want mass adoption, if you want institutional investors, if you want the key players from the financial industry to get in, you need to have super airtight regulation, and that's what happened with blockchain. However, the difference between blockchain, which was, let's say, represented for the first time in that form by Bitcoin, is that technology was perceived as a way for criminals to move money around, or people from the technology segment to kind of do something interesting. However, the metaverse and the hype about metaverse started when Facebook announced it. So I believe if we're looking, like, for example, 2021, Facebook or Meta invested 8.8 billion in their metaverse efforts. You have Microsoft, you have big players coming into the world. So I don't see that as long-term unregulated. And if history has taught us something, it will move from self-regulation. It happened with merchant law. It happened with the first time internet became mainstream. It happened with blockchain, and it will happen with metaverse. Self-regulation, and then because regulators love the wait-and-see approach, so kind of test the market, but there is no mass adoption without strict regulation.
I agree with you on that, Elo. I mean, we have to protect the basic user always, and the business as well should be protected. So, but that's interesting what you mentioned about the meta, right? So this is a big question. We're talking about metaverse, but metaverse is not something unique thing which will exist for the entire world. I assume that there are lots of different metaverse. I mean, we are in the Central Blockchain of Catalonia. We're developing Catverse, the Catalan metaverse, to preserve the language and culture of Catalonia, so which has its particular purpose and it's targeting particular people of that region. Of course, it can be later used for the, let's say, people from the rest of the world to learn more about this culture and these people. But generally, the first idea is this. And there are going to be many other metaverses. Some of them will be government metaverses. Some of them will be Facebook metaverses. And finally, all of them will create their own rules, their own censorship, and all. Like we know, we're all using maybe Facebook, LinkedIn, and some of us experience being censored for certain thoughts. So it's not that free as we thought. So question here, what way we should take? Again, is that regulation should come from particular governments? Is that should come from every company when Google will tell me what to do and what not to do, or Facebook? Or it should be some rules of the game generic for everybody and be like a more inclusive space? So what do you think about this, Klemen? Again, you're the creator. I'm interested in your opinion.
I think it has to be somehow inclusive, so it's fair to everybody. Let's say one example from our experience. So if we are doing some sweepstakes, something like that, it depends from where you are if you can even participate. So I don't think this is fair, and I don't think this is like Web3 idea behind. So let's say this is my opinion, and I would like to see that countries, regulators all come together and do something like that. But I also believe that it's going to take a lot of time, and maybe it will never happen.
maybe it should be somehow regulated by the community. So as I said, like consensus mechanism for managing the metaverse. I know it's just my ideas. I'm throwing. Srdjan, if you want to jump on that, you've been nodding a lot, so I really want to hear your opinion.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, and I believe that again, self-regulation basically implies that the community of creators and key stakeholders will make their own rules. And what's good about it is because it's the market, right? If you want to advertise yourself as a metaverse for businesses, obviously you will be more focused on heavy regulation, which is focused on the industry you're covering, right? And this will be your benefit. So if somebody's searching for a safe metaverse without, the theft of digital identity, this will be your kind of way that you regulate it. And again, for me, I think the key challenge is there's a void between what you regulate as a vendor, as a creator, so you have your terms and conditions and so on, and what the government is regulating. For example, I believe you know about the scandal with the Rockefeller. That was actually the front page of Jay-Z's album. They made the NFT out of it. One of the co-founders of Rockefeller, and he did it without the permission of the company because he used that copyright. So you have huge intellectual property implications when it comes to metaverse, right? And again, I don't believe that the governments, especially the governments of very, let's say, powerful countries, will just stand by and let the market regulate itself, especially if that market earns a lot of money. So we have tax implications, financial transactions implications, IP implications, mental health implications. So if you use the metaverse and somebody dies, that's something to think about. So long term, self-regulation, but the government will jump in for sure.
I believe, we're going to see a lot of interesting scams in the metaverse to come. Like how many were in crypto, like people will become so creative. Anyways, Naveen, if you want to add anything.
I think I'm just scared of what he just said. Just imagine you all have to pay taxes in metaverse. You'll just get a tax bill at your home that you have been metaverse, you own a plot there, you have to pay taxes. And the second thing is we all have to go through mental checkups to have a prescription from a doctor that we go through mental checkups, and only then we are allowed to go in the metaverse. I don't know if it could be, that's what you said before, it actually defeats the purpose of Web 3.0. But I think there's a lot to be done in this space. We are in the very early things, and how the things will fold, how the government depends again from government to government. Definitely there could be the part of the DAO where the community can actually establish the rules. But then again, you have to see there's a technical side also. So those rules have to be implemented on the back end from the techie side so that the rules can be in the metaverse. So there are a lot of very distributed parts of things which has to come together and make it a successful part. So it's a very interesting future, which is metaverse bringing us.
Thank you, Naveen. And Edwin?
Just to add quickly, I think maybe the future lies on standards. So we might not know it, but there's a bunch of things that we use that are standard. Quality, 9101, an ISO. Information security, 27001. So maybe the future in the metaverse lies by creating a standard. And it's just one big logo that when you enter that metaverse, it's kind of quality approved or information security approved. Because regulatory-wise, the countries, nobody likes to be the first one to jump in and say, I'm going to regulate the metaverse. They're always looking for the big players. So unless like a big country does something, then they go and copycat. But they do the redirect. Sometimes regulations inside a country say, if you have this ISO, then maybe you are already compliant with our regulation. So first, I think there's got to be a big consortium. There's some things already being built in the metaverse in that sense. Create a big standard where everybody understands that if you're building a metaverse and you build it according to that standard, you can be compliant in the future when the countries decide, okay, first, here is the regulation on the metaverse. I'm hoping to see that soon, and let's see where it goes.
Well, thank you, guys. We have less than 1 minute. Just if you want to say any last words to the audience before we wrapping it up. So I will start with you, Klemen.
Yeah, I would like to congratulate you all because we are on such an early stage that we are all early adopters and the bright future lies in front of us.
Thank you. Naveen?
Guys, thank you very much, and I think we all are the participants of Web 3.0, and we all are the one which make 3.0. It doesn't governs itself. So, welcome to the world.
Buy stuff in the metaverse before it gets taxated.
And Edwin?
Forgot that disclaimer. Not financial advice.
Absolutely. Well,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, guys, for everything.